Okay, well, hello and welcome to History 123, History of the United States from 1900 until the present time. I am going to take some time today in this video, which will be a short video, probably no more than 10 minutes, to show you around Blackboard and the syllabus. And I'll have some other videos as we get further into the course that I will post in the weekly materials for you. So here's just a quick overview to get started. Now I'm going to pull up the website here. Oh gosh, look at all these links. So I've got everything going here, so I'm actually going to close out so that we can start fresh, and I'm going to pull up the USM website so that you can see how to get on and start for yourself. So typically when I'm trying to get on my USM, I just Google it. I find it's the easiest. I'm sure I could just put a link on my computer, but this is what I do. And so you have access to the MyUSM campus portal, which you should have been able to set up by now. If you're not able to, you can send me an email and I'll help you get started with that. Through the campus portal site, you can access Blackboard, course reserves, Gmail, your calendar, and all that good stuff. So for this purpose today, I'll just be logging into Blackboard so we can take a look at that. That's where your syllabus is. So log into MyUSM campus portal and you will put your username and your password and log in that way. And you should get a screen that looks like this. So you have a launch pad with all of your fun little tools here that you'll need throughout the semester. Today we're just looking at the Blackboard, so I'm going to click on that one. And it will pull something that looks similar to this up. Yours may look a little bit different. I'm in instructor mode right now, so it might not look the same as yours. Hopefully you'll have access to this History 123, the fall 2019. I will be opening that up on Friday, so let me know if you aren't able to access it. You should be by Friday evening. Your Blackboard will look like this, or something similar. Actually, let me go into student view so we can take a look at how you should be seeing this. You will have the menu over here, the sidebar menu. I probably won't use announcements all that often, but they're right there at the front. If there's anything that comes up and I need your immediate attention to this, I will post this in the announcements. I do have my brief instructor info here, my email address, my work phone, where my office is located, and my office hours. This next link is the syllabus, and so we're going to go over this just quickly. Hopefully you've received my first email, and in this I asked you to look at the syllabus and answer some questions in the syllabus scavenger hunt. And also to send me an email if you have any questions, things that you feel the syllabus did not cover. So this course, it is delivered entirely online, and it does require you to be very self-directed. So that means checking Blackboard daily to see if you're keeping up with discussion posts, as well as expectations and whatever announcements I may put up. Here's a brief course description and course goals, and you can read that for yourself. The foundational skills that really anyone doing history needs to know how to do, but in particular for this class, to understand the chronology from 1900 to the present, to read and interpret information accurately from a variety of primary and secondary sources, to refine the skills and processes of deliberation, debate, and dialogue, and we'll do that through the weekly discussion posts. And also, you should know how to integrate quotes from primary and secondary sources, and these quotes should support and develop a thesis so that you can make meaningful links to what's happening in the world today. These are the following questions that we will focus on, as well as the themes. I want you to think about, as we go through this semester, what is the story of American history? How do historians construct and evaluate the stories that they tell? Each of us as historians tell a little bit different version of the story. And so what sources are we using to construct our stories? How are we telling those stories? And then why study history? And I hope that this will lead to some really engaging and interesting conversations about why even study history. The themes we'll look at: the rise of the protectionist state and corporate power, popular culture, race and gender, economic transformation, U.S. development as a superpower, and technological and medical advances. So you'll see these themes crop up again and again as we go through the course materials. The texts that are required, you'll see listed here. You can find these at the University of Southern Maine Virtual Bookstore, and I've put the link here in the syllabus so that you can find it. Each of these books, there's a purpose for what I am assigning, and I just will kind of quickly go over why. So the three books, Bruce Franklin, Kenneth Jackson, and Marianne Watson, these are books that you will read for your short précis or your summary. And the reason I'm assigning these books is because I want you to understand different ways of doing history. So Franklin really looks at it through a cultural lens, whereas Jackson looks at it more through a social history lens. And I want you to look at the sources that they use, how they construct their stories, the way that they do history and the questions that they ask. And also Marianne Watson, hers is kind of a cultural and social history. So these represent different types of history, but they're also important for understanding the 20th century and what's happening from 1900 up until the present time. The quote-unquote textbooks will be Paul Johnson and Howard Zinn. Now, they're not the classic kind of traditional textbooks that you may come into contact with or you may have in the past in some of the classes. They're each an interpretation by the historian, and they're very different. Zinn, much more liberal left, where Johnson may be considered more conservative right. They're both telling the same story, but in a different way, and we'll talk about that as we go along through this first semester, the differences in these historians. For the time being, I will be using American Yawp, which is online. It's a free collaborative open source history textbook, which I think is great. It's a little bit like Wikipedia. It's through Stanford University, and anyone can contribute. The work is vetted and checked, and so it brings together all these different voices to kind of tell the story. And I really like that. And so we'll start with chapter 18, Life in Industrial America, and kind of have you go from there with this book. We'll use probably the first 3 chapters in the American Yawp before we get into reading Zinn and Johnson. Now the grades, I've broken those down into percentage points so that you can see what each particular assessment, essay, etc. is worth. So you'll see your class and attendance, your participation, mostly through the weekly forum posts. That's 25% of your grade. And the précis, the 3 books that I mentioned, will be worth 30% of your grade. We will have a midterm worth 20 and a final worth 25%, and that is how your grades will break down. And so you'll see that there is not a lot of work. There's not a lot of small assignments. There's actually just large chunks that equal up to 100% of the grade. So you want to be careful that you're hitting the targets here in terms of what I'm looking for. I'll break down each assignment in more detailed posts and have the links to those posted on Blackboard, so you can make sure that you're getting the idea of what I'm looking for so you can get the grades that you need. There is no makeup work, so make sure you get it in on time, that you do what's required, It's all here in the syllabus. So, and these are the due dates that I'm looking for. I do have what I've called an online cafe, so we can have a little bit of room for some kind of informal hangouts where you can post questions and comments. Could be personal interests, could be pertinent to what we're studying in class, or it could also be related to what's going on in the world and so on. And so here's a link. It's a back channel. You just come in here and you type in your name and you'll be able to come in just like any chat room. So that will be ongoing throughout the semester for you. And then each week I've got it detailed as to what we're going to do with links. These will also be in the weekly materials on Blackboard, so always look on Blackboard because it may not always be in the syllabus. I've tried to do my best to make sure everything is here. As I've got up to, I think, week 7 or 8, maybe even beyond that. I will be changing the syllabus as kind of a work in progress. So I've done most of the work on it, but I will be adding some more things as we go along. So it's not complete, but always check the weekly materials on Blackboard here, and this will be actually up to date with what we're looking for. Of course, right now I'm still working on it, and so the only thing I have listed here is week 6, which shouldn't be available. At this point, it will, each week I will open it up on Sunday evening so that you can come in and check out what's due for the week. And I'm going to stop that here because the video is getting a little bit long and I just want to make sure I keep it around a 10-minute length. And I will have other videos in the weekly materials for the first week as we start. It's great to have you in the class, and I look forward to a wonderful semester together.